and good afternoon everyone. I hope you all are fine at your home, so stay at home and don't go out. Wash your hands regularly if you are touching something or going outside, and use sanitizers and be safe at home. Today we are going to see Science 2 Standard 9 lesson number 8, that is useful and harmful microorganisms. Now you must be knowing microorganisms, they are present all around us. Now, in this chapter, we are going to see useful microorganisms, that is lactobacilli, rhizobium and yeast, and then we'll see harmful microorganisms, clostridium and others. Now, what is meant by microbes? So, the living organisms which cannot be seen with our naked eyes. So, we need something to see them, like compound microscope to see them. Under that, you can see them properly. So with the naked eyes you cannot see them. So such organisms, they are known as microbes. Now all microbes have prokaryotic cells and can be seen only under microscope. So they are prokaryotic cells and they can be seen under microscope only. How did you observe microbes? Now microbes can be seen under compound microscope, as said earlier. Now what you will do to see that, if drop of fresh buttermilk, now if you are having buttermilk at your home, that you have to fresh, that you have to add on a slide, and then you have to just stain it with the appropriate stain, which is a coloring agent. You have to stain that, and then you can see the lactobacilli easily under the microscope. Now also fungus growing, you must have seen that cottonish, white cottonish layer coming on chapatis if they are kept, or bread if they have kept for too many days, then you will find that also you can just check out and see under the microscope. So this way you can observe the microorganisms. Now in what way? Now you are familiar with different types of microbes which are all around us but cannot be seen in with our eyes. In what way are they related to our everyday life? Now see how they are related. Now many of the microorganisms, they are useful to us while others are harmful to us. Now we use them for benefits such as making yogurt, buttermilk from lactobacilli. So there lactobacilli is the bacteria which, or microbe you can say, which help us in the formation of curd which we eat. So yeast is used for baking process, also yeast which is a fungus that is also used for fermentation processes. Now the yeast is a type of a fungus which is very useful. So yeast is also very useful. It is a type of a fungi. Some microbes are harmful and they cause various disease and affect the human beings. So some are pathogenic, they cause diseases to us, while some are very useful to us. Now if you see in the textbook, they have given useful microorganisms. First one is lactobacilli. Now lactobacilli, how you will find, smear a drop of fresh buttermilk on a, as we said earlier, on a glass slide, stain it with methylene blue. Now methylene blue is a coloring agent, you can say it is as a stain. So with that, if you stain it, and you have to put a cover slip on it. Observe the smear under the 10x, that is 10 times objective of a compound microscope, and then with the more powerful one, means more clearly and big it will be visualized to you if you see under the microscope. Now there is a blue rod shaped organisms moving around. They are rod shaped, blue color. Blue color is because of that methylene blue. So because you can identify easily if they are stained. So they are lactobacilli, a kind of bacteria. Those are what in the buttermilk. They are lactobacilli, a kind of bacteria. Further, they are minute and rectangular in shape. They are small but they are rectangular in shape, as you can see on page number 88. Lactobacilli are anaerobic bacteria. Now, what is anaerobic bacteria? That they can produce energy without the use of oxygen. They survive in the absence of oxygen, or they produce energy in the absence of oxygen. So, there are two types. One is aerobic and one is anaerobic. Anaerobic means in the absence of oxygen. Aerobic means in the presence of oxygen. So, lactobacilli, it is anaerobic. So it produces energy in the absence of oxygen. Further, how is yogurt made from milk? What exactly happens in this process? Now see, the lactobacilli converts lactose. There is a sugar in the milk. Milk, it is sweet. It is having a sugar that is known as lactose. Now what happens? These lactobacilli, they convert that sugar lactose into lactic acid. This process is called fermentation. So this is known as fermentation, when it converts the lactose into lactic acid. As a result, the pH of the milk decreases, causing coagulation of the milk protein. So whatever proteins are there, it coagulates. Now you can see how the curd becomes, it's like viscous. It's not like a liquid like milk. So thus the milk proteins are separated from the other constituents of the milk. So the milk, proteins, they are separated. Coagulation occurs, and you can see how the yogurt, means the dahi, how it looks. This is what happens when milk changes into yogurt. Now yogurt has a specific sour taste if you taste. Now that is because of the lactic acid. The low pH destroys harmful microbes present in the milk. Now if other microorganisms are there in the milk, now because the pH is going down, they will be vanished, or they will be destroyed from the milk. So here, the culture of the previous yogurt containing lactobacilli is added to the lukewarm milk. These bacteria, they bring about the chemical change in the milk. Now previous culture, if you have of lactobacilli, now little bit you can take and put it in the fresh milk. So what will happen? The entire chemical reaction will take place, and the entire milk is then converted into yogurt. There what happens? Same, what I said earlier, that lactose is converted into lactic acid. This process is known as fermentation, and final product we get is the yogurt over there. Then, why do doctors advise you to have a yogurt or a buttermilk if you have an indigestion of abdominal discomfort? Now see, they are easier. Now yogurt and buttermilk, they are easier for digestion, and they kill the other harmful microorganisms also. So that is why they are very useful, and they are used when you have a discomfort of stomach. So yogurt and buttermilk, they are easier for digestion. The lactobacilli content is higher in yogurt. So entire yogurt is formed, then lactobacilli only will be present in that. These lactobacilli can kill the harmful bacteria like Clostridium in the alimentary canal and helps to improve our immunity. Now see, if any harmful bacteria like Clostridium is there in the alimentary canal, so when you eat this yogurt, it contains lactobacilli. So lactobacilli will destroy that harmful Clostridium which is present in the alimentary canal, and this yogurt also helps to improve your immunity. It makes you strong internally, so that you can fight against any diseases. Yogurt also has an acidic pH, and thus it can kill many microbes which could otherwise enter through milk. So if other microorganisms which can enter into your body through milk, now this yogurt, it can kill those microorganisms. Therefore, doctors advise you to have a buttermilk or yogurt when you are unease, or you have a discomfort of your stomach. So remember, the yogurt and buttermilk, they have useful bacteria known as lactobacilli, which helps us to improve our immunity. Now see, sometimes yogurt becomes bitter and froths up. Why does this happen? Now sometimes what happens, the culture which you have used of lactobacilli to convert it into yogurt, that gets spoiled, and because of that gets spoiled, it will not act in a good way. So the other bacteria which are there, Clostridium and all, they may rise, and they give that typical sour taste to that. So that is very harmful for health. Now, the culture of lactobacilli with which yogurt is made may be spoiled sometimes. So instead of lactobacilli growing, there is a growth of Clostridium, which is very harmful to us. So there is a growth of harmful Clostridium in such cultures. The pH also becomes more acidic. Such yogurt becomes bitter and also shows froth. Froth means the bubble-like thing which we get on the surface when it is getting spoiled. That is known as froth. And bitter, bitter means like what is the taste of a bitter gourd, like that, bitter. So it is not sour, it becomes bitter. So that is because of the Clostridium bacteria growing in it instead of lactobacilli. Now further, which different milk products are obtained at home by fermentation of the cream from the milk? Now see, there are many like lassi, butter, creams, shrikhand, condensed milk. Many of the things they are prepared at home. Now, what is meant by probiotic yogurt? Now, these useful bacteria, which are present in the yogurt like lactobacilli, it is very helpful to us because it is killing the other harmful bacteria like Clostridium, and it is helping to improve our immunity. That is why it is known as a probiotic yogurt, which helps us to improve our immunity because it is a good bacteria and it kills the harmful bacteria. So that is why it is known as a probiotic yogurt. Now all these things, they are very popular nowadays. So gastrointestinal problems which you have related to your digestion or something like that, so you can have this. Now uses of lactobacilli. Various milk products like yogurt, buttermilk, ghee, cheese, shrikhand, etc. can be obtained by fermentation of milk. So by fermentation of milk, all these things what we eat. Now these things we eat normally, that is yogurt, buttermilk, ghee, ghee, cheese or shrikhand. Now these things are very, good for your health. So you eat these things. Now these are obtained by fermentation of milk. So these are milk products. Lactobacilli fermentation is useful for large scale production of cider, cocoa, pickles of vegetables, etc. Lactobacilli and some other useful microbes taken together are used to treat abdominal discomfort, as we saw earlier. Then leavened fodder offered to domestic animals like cows and buffaloes is a fodder fermented with help of, now their fodder, what they eat, that is also fermented. The cattle which they eat, leavened means what? It is fermented with bacteria. Now here it is with the help of lactobacilli, it is fermented and then that is given to the animals also. So that is useful for them also. The lactobacilli fermentation process is used to make wines and some types of bread. So there also this is used. The lactobacilli, it is used for fermentation. That process is used for making of bread also and for wines also. Now, if you see how many different industries depend upon the lactobacilli bacteria. Now here industries, if you see, these are all the dairy industries only, what they will survive. Now see, for example, dairy industries, what they they survive on this only, the products which they give. So how many different industries depend on lactobacilli bacteria? So they depend on lactobacilli bacteria because of that only their products they are making. So production of milk products like cheese, butter, buttermilk. Now these industries they are producing. That is why that is happening. That is happening because of lactobacilli only. So these are some of the industries. Milk powder, probiotic medicines like yogurts we saw, That is also the industries which are making yogurt. So the lactobacilli is helping them there. Also cattle feed. The cattle feed, I said, the leavened fodder for animals, that is fermented with lactobacilli. Then we have preparation of alcohol, winery. Winery means wine. We prepare wine. So bakery products like bread, biscuit, cakes, etc. They are also carried out by the process of fermentation with the help of lactobacilli. So these are all industries which will flourish because of lactobacilli. Now see, which types of cotton industries and factories can be started in areas with abundant milk production. Now it is same, it becomes same. All these industries, cheese, butter and all these industries will flourish there where there is abundant of milk production. Now next we will see rhizobium. Rhizobium is a symbiotic bacteria. Now take a plant of fenugreek, that is methi, groundnut or any other bean and sterilize it with 3 to 5% solution of hydrogen peroxide. Now we have to sterilize the plantlet. Now afterwards keep it in 70% alcohol solution of ethyl alcohol for 4 to 5 minutes. After that is done with hydrogen peroxide, then we have to take out and then we have to put it in 70% solution of ethyl alcohol for 4 to 5 minutes. Then clean the roots with sterile water. Sterile water you have to clean, there should not be any organisms in that, so you have to make the water sterile and then we have to clean. And take thin section of the root nodules. Now root nodules means what? If there are roots over here, you will form such structures forming over here. These are known as the nodules. Now that nodules you have to take the section. Select good section and place it in a solution of safranin for 2 to 3 minutes. Now safranin, if you see, it is having that pink color, so it is a staining agent, like we had the methylene blue in lactobacilli, so here we are using the safranin, it is pinkish in color. So in that you have to put that what you have taken the slide. Now place the stained section on a glass slide, cover it with the cover slip. Now you have to place on the glass side and then in the cover slip. Now see, glass side na, they are like this, made up of glass. If you are placing over here, you are putting water, placing over here, or glycerin you are putting on that, this is a cover slip. This you have to place on this like this. When you place on this like this, then you have to observe under the microscope. So this is a glass slab and this is a cover slip. This. The pinkish rod-shaped organisms are called rhizobium bacteria. So as you can see on page number 89, so the pinkish, it is not given here, it is not pinkish color shown, but they have shown the rectangular shape. So the rod-shaped, sorry. The pinkish rod-shaped organisms are the rhizobium bacteria. So these are the rhizobium bacteria which are present in the root nodules of especially the leguminous plants. Leguminous plants means the grains what you eat, moong, matki, rajma, these things, they are the legumes. So these bacteria, they are present in their root nodules. Note that we have to search for root nodules of leguminous plants to obtain these bacteria. Are these rhizobium bacilli useful to the plant or harmful? They are useful. Now they share that relationship of known as symbiotic relationship. When these bacteria, they are staying in the root nodules, the plant is benefiting from it. Also these bacteria are benefited from the plant. So they have that give and take relationship. They are giving something, they are getting something. Nobody is harming anybody. They both are understanding each other and helping each other. So that is a symbiotic relationship. We call it as symbiosis also, that symbiotic relationship. So now we'll see role and importance of rhizobia. Rhizobia living in the root nodule supply nitrates, nitrites and amino acids to the plant. So what it is doing, it is supplying the nitrogen compounds, nitrates, nitrites and the amino acids. The bacteria is giving that to the plant and in turn it is getting energy from the plant. And in exchange get energy in the form of carbohydrates from it. Now bacteria, their food is what? Organic matter, carbon compound. Carbohydrate is a carbon compound, so from that is food for bacteria, so they will get energy from that. So in this way, if you see, the bacteria, it is helping the plant, and in turn the plant is giving energy, the food to it, so both are benefiting. So this is known as symbiotic relationship. So such a mutually beneficial relationship is called as symbiosis. So both are benefiting. Rhizobia produce nitrogenous compound from atmospheric nitrogen. Now atmospheric nitrogen, what we are getting from the air, that plant directly cannot be assimilated in the plant. So plants, they take it in the form of compound. We have seen this in the earlier chapter also, in the nitrogen cycle. There they have to, first they get converted into nitrates, nitrites, and then the plants absorb those nitrates and nitrites. So directly they can't take the atmospheric nitrogen. So here rhizobium, what they are doing, they are converting the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates and nitrites and making it available to the plants. However, for the process of nitrogen fixation, they need leguminous plant like beans, sweet pea, soya bean, etc. as the host. So it is a host, it is staying in that plant now, so that plant is a host for the bacteria. Now for preparing these nitrates and nitrites, they need these leguminous plants only, like I said, the grains and all, soya bean, the sweet pea, beans, whatever we have, but here these are leguminous plants. So beans and pulses are rich in protein due to the nitrogenous compounds made available by rhizobium. Now because the rhizobium, they make available then the nitrogen compounds, they are nothing but rich in protein. So when we eat this, we get a lot of proteins from them. Further, after harvesting a leguminous crop, the leftover roots and the other plant parts are deliberately dumped in farm soil to maintain its bacterial population. The use of rhizobium has helped to reduce the use of chemical fertilizers and thereby their adverse effects. It has also helped to reduce expenses in fertilizers and thus works to the benefit of farmers. Now what is happening after harvesting? Harvesting means when the crop is ripened, they take out, they cut and they take out, so that they can take out the grains from there. So when they cut that, the root parts are they dump in the soil to maintain that bacterial population over there. So the leftover roots and the other plants are dumped in farm to maintain its bacterial population for the next lot. Now the use of rhizobium has helped to reduce the use of chemical fertilizers. So now there is no use of chemical fertilizers, because these bacteria, they are providing NO2, NO3 to the plants. So what will happen? The use of chemical fertilizers is decreased. So the chemical fertilizers are very expensive. So the reduction, the money is saved over there of the farmers. So it helps the farmers in that way. So and thereby also the chemical fertilizers, after consistent use of chemical fertilizers, it makes your land barren. Means it will not be able to produce plant, or there will be no vegetation. Why? I mean to say, there will be no crops growing, because the lands, they are not fertile anymore. They become barren because of continuous use of these chemical fertilizers. So what will happen if their rhizobium population is maintained in the soil? That time there is no need to buy the chemical fertilizers, and there will be no effect on the land also. It will remain fertile for a longer period. Now it has also helped to reduce expenses on fertilizers and thus works to the benefit of farmers. Now it is benefiting farmers because they have to buy those fertilizers which are very expensive. Now if there is rhizobium helping them, then there is no need of buying those expensive fertilizers. So there is a reduction in their expenses also. So they are saving on that. So that is good for the farmers. So nowadays, seeds are coated with rhizobial solution or powder before sowing. So rhizobial solution or powder also nowadays it is available. So seeds are coated with that and then they are put inside. So you will get that nutrients what the rhizobium is providing to the plants. After sowing, rhizobia enters the plantlets. This is called rhizobial inoculation. This is known as inoculation. To put something, that is inoculation. So You are putting rhizobium in the plant, so that is known as rhizobium inoculation. This experiment has helped in the supply of nitrogen to the cereals and other crops besides leguminous plants. To the cereals also. Cereals are the dals what you eat. So and the other crops also. So they are, if they are helping in not only the leguminous plant but also the other plants too. Now further we will see yeast. Now yeast is a type of fungi. Now if you have seen earlier, we had talked about yeast also. It helps in the process of fermentation. Now activity. Bring active dry yeast. Now dry yeast you get in the market. So from the market you can bring. Mix a spoonful of yeast, 2 spoonful sugar with a sufficient quantity of lukewarm water in a bottle. So take a bottle, in that put yeast, put sugar also. So there you will find, fix a colorless transparent balloon on the mouth of that bottle. Now after putting that, you have to put a colorless balloon on the mouth. What changes do you observe after 10 minutes? Mix lime water and the gas accumulates in the balloon. Collect that lime water in a beaker and observe. What do you notice? Take a drop of the solution from the bottle on a glass side, put a cover slip over it and observe it under a compound microscope. Store the solution in the bottle carefully. Now when you do this, you find the oval cells of yeast on the slides. Some of those cells may have small round bodies attached to them. These are new daughter cells of the yeast in the process of formation. So by cell division, the main cell will divide into a daughter cell. So like that, this method of asexual reproduction is called budding. So yeast, there is budding process taking place, that is the asexual reproduction. In this case they multiply by budding. Yeast is a heterotrophic fungal microscope and grows on carbon compound. Now heterotrophic means there is autotrophic like plants. They are autotrophic because they can prepare their own food. Heterotrophic means they cannot prepare their own food, they depend on others for the food. So here also yeast is a heterotrophic fungal microbe that grows on carbon compounds. Now these bacteria, they mostly grow on organic matter. Now organic matter means carbon containing compounds. So they grow on the carbon compounds. Now if you see the structure over here of the fungi, you will see over here that like these structures are formed over here. Now if you see, this is the main cell. From this daughter cell is emerging up. That is a process of budding. Now after some time, you will see that two separate cells are formed. Now this is known as the bud. What it is, and it is attached in this condition, this is known as bud. Yeast is a unicellular fungus with 1500 different species in existence. It is a unicellular fungus. Unicellular means it is made up of a single cell. And how many species are, different species are available? 1500. The yeast cell is a eukaryotic type of cell. It is a eukaryotic type of cells where it has a well-defined nucleus, nuclear membrane. So in the above experiment, yeast grows and multiplies very quickly due to carbon compound in the sugar solution. Now sugar, as you know, it is glucose C6H12O6. So there is a carbon in that. So they got their food in the form of that carbon compound, that is the sugar. So they multiply quickly when they get food. They divide quickly. In the process of obtaining nutrition, yeast cell convert the carbohydrate in that solution into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This process is called fermentation. So what is there? There is carbohydrate in that solution. So what yeast will do? They will utilize that carbon dioxide. Now when they are utilizing that carbon dioxide, the products which are formed are the alcohol and the CO2, that is carbon dioxide, and this process is known as fermentation. Now if you see, even the breads what we use, the breads that we eat, That is also as a result it is a fermented product only. Now further we will see how is bread formed. Now in the bread also the fermentation takes place and the CO2 is released. Now that is why the bread they become fluffy. Now see, we will see chapatis made from wheat only swell up, but bread becomes spongy, soft and easy to digest. Now if you see, yeast is added to the flour of bread. Flour, the powder what from which we make the dough. So there this yeast carries out fermentation. Now that fermentation is carried out and what it happens, it releases CO2. So because of that gas it becomes fluffy and spongy. Therefore the bread becomes spongy and soft. Due to yeast some nutrients are also produced in the flour. So it becomes more tasty, nutrition and easy to digest. But in chapati it is not happening like that. Flour of chapati does not contain yeast. So in chapati we don't put yeast. So that is why while roasting this only the gas which is present when we are giving it fire it just blows. Some chapatis they blow. So that is because of the gas which is present and it makes them to swell. And that's it. So it is not like fermentation that is happening in the chapatis. Further, we will see find out how to use the solutions prepared in the above experiment to make bread. Find and note the reasons why the dough rises and makes bread spongy. Now that is because of the fermentation only of the yeast where CO2 is produced and because of that only the bread becomes spongy and soft over there. Often alcohol is produced along with sugar in the sugar factories. Molasses is produced from sugarcane juice. Now molasses it is produced from sugarcane juice. There also fermentation takes place. It is rich in carbohydrates. Molasses is fermented with the help of the yeast called Saccharomyces. In this process ethanol alcohol is produced as a primary product and ester and other alcohol as secondary product. Spirit and other alcohols can be obtained from ethanol. Ethanol is a smokeless and high quality fuel. Besides molasses, maize, barley and other grains are also used for industrial production of ethanol. So in this way, from the molasses if you see the ethanol is produced and ethanol can be used as a fuel also because it is non-polluting. Eco-friendly it is not producing any smoke. Now glucose and fructose, the sugar present in the grape juice are also fermented with the help of yeast to produce alcohol which is used for making wines. Then from that it is used for making wines. Now see, recently it has been made compulsory in India and some other countries to mix 10% alcohol with fuels like petrol and diesel. What is the reason for this? Now see, alcohol, ethanol, it is produced as a byproduct as we seen in the fermentation. So they are saying that use 10% in the fuels because petrol and diesel what fuels we are using that takes years to be formed because that we get from the interior of the earth and that takes so many years to form because of the internal heat and pressure. It converts whatever organic matter is there, it converts into liquid, but that is a limited storage what we have below the earth's surface. Now if it gets over, then we will have to wait for so many years. It will not be in 1 or 2 years, it will not be formed. So it requires thousands and millions of years to be formed. So that is why if ethanol is used, so that the reserves which are there of the petrol and diesel that will be used less. And also ethanol it is eco-friendly, means it will not pollute the environment also. So listen, ethanol is produced from the molasses of sugarcane and other grain. So the ethanol is less polluting if used as a fuel. Petrol and diesel are fossil fuels. They are obtained from deep interiors of the earth and they have a limited source of energy because they require so many years to be formed. They cannot be produced again if it is exhausted. Due to limited fossil fuels, mankind is facing that energy crisis. So in that case, they can use 10% with the ethanol. So it is also This mixture saves fuel quantity, what the ethanol, and also it also emits less CO, carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide is released from the traffic. If you see the fumes, what we get, the smoke, the pollution, that is carbon monoxide. So in this case, it will not be produced. So that is why the pollution will be less. So that is why it is made compulsory in India and some other countries to mix 10% ethanol with fuels. Why are wineries located near Nashik in Maharashtra? So if you see in Maharashtra, in Nashik, there is orchard of grapes, means there are grape farms. So farmers and horticulture find it economical to have a business of winery that only depending upon harvesting of grapes. So only making of grapes, instead of that they can produce the wines also. And wine is also in great demand. We also get valuable foreign exchange by exporting wine in international markets. So due to all these things, we can even export and get money. So instead of just growing grapes, you can also do the wineries also. You can make wine also. So this is chapati is made from wheat. I have already explained. Now bioremediation, yeast Yerovia lipolytica is used to absorb the toxins released during the production of palm oil and heavy metals and minerals released in the other industrial processes. Saccharomyces cerevisiae is used for absorption of pollutants. So all these, some bacteria, they are very useful. See, they are decreasing the pollutants from the atmosphere. Now further, hope you have understood. Read the textbook. The further part of antibiotics we'll see in the next session. Thank you.